We are now going to recap and try to refresh our knowledge for Chapter 2. During Chapter 2, we studied positive and negatives a lot. A negative times a negative is a positive. And a negative times a positive, or a positive times a negative, is a negative. Okay, so here's just a little note for you. Two negatives will cancel. So you have to look for two negatives in a row. Okay, example number 1. Simplify this expression. I see a negative times a negative, so those are going to cancel into a positive. Are there any more negatives? No, so my answer is positive. You could put a positive sign or you could put nothing. The second thing that you do is you calculate the number. 6 times 1 is just 6, and x times x is x squared. Okay, so step 1, cancel negatives and make sure that you have either positive or negative for your answer. Step 2, multiply the numbers. Okay, when you get to divide problems, then you divide the numbers. And number 3, multiply the variables. And when you do that, you might have to write it as a power, as an exponent. Here's our next example. I only see one negative. There's no other negatives to cancel with, so my answer is negative. Step 2, let's take a look at the numbers. I only see the number 2. And step 3, let's take care of the variable. Y times y times y is y to the power of 3. Okay, you have to be able to simplify expressions with negatives. The second thing that we studied in Chapter 2 that you have to remember is reciprocal. Reciprocal means to flip a fraction. To flip a fraction. Okay, so here's our first example. If the fraction is negative, then the reciprocal is negative. Okay, so let's write a note here. Keep the plus or minus sign. You don't change the negative sign, you keep that. And then I'm going to flip, not 4 on top, but 5 over 4, negative 5/4. Excuse me. This next example right here, I don't see a denominator. There's one number you're allowed to put in the denominator, and that's a 1. Now we're going to go ahead and find the reciprocal. Since the problem is negative, the reciprocal is going to be negative. And you don't say 7 over 1, we say 1 over 7. So that's how you find the reciprocal of a whole number. All right, what else do we study in Chapter 2? Simplifying an expression with quotients. Okay, so something like this. So here's the steps. Okay, step number 1. Divide all terms from the numerator, okay, by the divisor. Okay, a divisor is the number you're dividing by. So who gets divided by 2? Does the first number get divided by 2 or the second thing? Since there's a big bar, they both get divided by 2. So negative 12, you're going to get divided by 2. Positive plus the 4x, you're going to get divided by 2. Okay, it wouldn't be fair to divide the first one without the second one. I know when we studied this, we kind of went like this a little bit, like he's going to get divided by 2 and he's going to get divided by 2, so it kind of looks like I heart math. Okay, and now we have to, step 2, simplify the fractions. Simplify the fractions. So let's go ahead and say negative 12 divided by positive. A negative divided by positive is negative 6. This is positive, positive, so that's going to be 2x. And that's exactly how you leave it. Let's just put a little note here. Leave as 2 terms. Okay, if there were 2 terms on top, then your answer is going to have 2 terms. I know when we studied this chapter, some people were smushing these together. Are these like terms? No. No, a number and a variable, they don't get added together. Constants go with constants, and variables go with variables. Okay, that was some of the stuff that we studied in chapter 2. And then we got to the end of the chapter where we did lots of distributing. Okay, so when you distribute, you look for parentheses. Everything inside of this set of parentheses is going to get multiplied by negative 2. Okay, I know it's negative 2 times all of these terms. So we did the rainbow, we drew the arrows a lot. If you need to do that on the final, go ahead and do that. A negative times a positive is negative 6. A negative times a negative is positive 2x. Okay, so you always look in front for his sign. 3 is positive, there's nothing in front of him, but x was negative. Can these get combined? The answer is no, those are not like terms. Okay, we also did distributing problems where the number was after the set of parentheses, and that's the same thing. We're going to distribute negative 3 into both of these. But we have to make sure we do it in the right order. Some people took the negative 3 and wrote the problem again. Okay, if you don't like the number at the end, put it in the front. Is the answer going to work out the same? Yes. And you might even get it correct if you make sure you do it in the right order. So this is a good idea. A negative times a positive is negative 12x. A negative times a negative is positive 15. And that's how we're going to leave our answer. Okay. Some people, when they were taking these tests, were writing their answers in a different way, and it was also correct. Okay, I'm just going to put a note here. Also correct. What if you have 15, a positive 15, and then you have the negative 12x? That's okay because the 12 is negative. Okay, but we can't have it switched around and have the negative on the 15. Okay, sometimes that happens even when you're adding like terms. What if I add the numbers first? That's okay. All right, combine like terms. So I see y's and I see constants. A lot of people color-coded this, so I'm going to put a box around all the y's. The positive sign goes with the 5. Oh, here's another y term. The negative 8 is on the y. That's a negative 11. That's a constant, so I'm going to save that one for later. And here's another y term, but that's a positive 3. So we have to do 12 minus 8y plus 3y, and that makes 7y. You could go ahead and type this in your calculator. You'd have to type 12 minus 8 plus 3, and then that gives you the coefficient for y. All right, let's go ahead and color code all the constants. So I'll put red circles around the positive 5 and the negative 11. This looks like Christmas colors here. 5 minus 11. So in your calculator, type a 5 for a positive 5, then type minus 11, and that answer is negative 6. And those are the 2 terms. Okay. We also studied combining like terms where there was exponents. This works the same way. 4x squared. We have to put x squareds with some other x squareds. Here's a constant. Maybe I'll put a circle, a green circle around that constant. You look in front for the sign. Negative 2x squared, the negative goes with him. And here's another constant, a number. Okay, I'm going to do the x squareds first. So we have 4x squareds minus 2x squared. So the answer is going to be x squareds, but the question is how many? In your calculator, you would type a positive 4 minus a 2. And that answer is 2x squared. And now it's time for the constants. I have positive 1 and positive 5, and that makes positive 6 when you're adding. Okay, be careful that you don't do the multiplying rules. It's not positive times negative, this is subtraction. Okay, check everything with your calculator. All right, and then at the end of the chapter, we did all of the steps at once. We're going to simplify by distributing and combining like terms. But I know you guys are really good at this. So first, we're going to distribute a 2 into just these parentheses here. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 2 times 3x is 6x, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. Now, what are we going to distribute here? Okay, into this set of parentheses, we're not going to distribute a 6. We're going to distribute a negative 6. Okay, you have to look in front of the number for his sign. A negative times a positive is negative 6x. A negative times a negative is positive 12. Okay, so first we distributed, check. And now we have to combine like terms. So let's look at the variables. Positive 6x minus 6x. These are like terms right here. Positive 6 minus 6x is 0. Those cancel out. Cancel, cancel. 8 plus 12 is 20. Okay, there you go. So this was all the things that we studied in Chapter 2. It's just a brief recap. I need you to do the next 2 pages and practice some Chapter 2 problems so that you get an A on your semester exam final. Thank you.